This journey began in the center of the Willamette Valley. One of the most popular nature attractions in the state is just outside the city of Salem. Towards the Cascades to the east is Silver Falls State Park. While this is a large park with many points of interest, it is most well known for the Trail of 10 Falls. 10 waterfalls give a lot of opportunities for photographers, and on this day I set out to get a shot at each one. There are a couple different trailheads, but the main parking is at South Falls Deus area. The route to visit all 10 waterfalls is about an 8-mile loop. It is maintained well, but just due to length, I would say it is moderate to difficult. Lots of things to enjoy at the Deus area, including a historic district, a dog park, and a cafe, but I was there to photograph the waterfalls. The Trail of 10 Falls starts right at the top of South Falls. A slightly steep switchback path leads down to the bottom. I found the pre-state park history of South Falls to be interesting. The landowner would charge admission for people to watch him launch old cars down the falls. He also gave the land away to a daredevil for just one day to avoid liability, so the daredevil could ride a boat down the waterfall. Thankfully, the cars were cleared out and the area is now protected by Oregon State Parks. The trail circles around and goes behind South Falls. While I was getting sprayed with water, I protected my camera so it would be ready for photography. A few spots in the cave were dry enough to take cover and get some shots. I took many photos on this day, and I will share my favorite one from each of the 10 falls. This shot captures the large size of both the waterfall and the canyon walls. The mossy slopes and rock walls are separated nicely by the trail going behind the waterfall. With only one waterfall down out of 10, I had to keep moving to be able to capture them all. The trail follows South Fork Silver Creek for about a mile until the second waterfall. Lower South Falls is first seen from above a series of switchbacks. Each turn down the trail gives a different view of the waterfall. The waterfall views got less obstructed with each new viewpoint. Moss, ferns, and other greens surround the waterfall and its pool. While slow shutter speeds are popular with waterfall photography, I personally like a faster shutter speed. I find the slower speeds to show a more neat and perfect water flow, which in reality isn't there. The trail going behind the waterfall felt like a narrow cave with one wall of rock and one of water. Hikers must rush through or deal with getting soaked. I was done with Lower South Falls and ready to dry off while hiking to the next one. Some waterfalls along the way are unnamed, so the Trail of 10 Falls has even more than just 10. This part of the trail is the longest stretch between waterfalls. It leaves South Fork Silver Creek and goes upstream along North Fork. Lower North Falls are the first of the shorter falls on this loop. There weren't many viewpoints on this one, so I took my photo at the first chance I got. The photo had colorful aqua water along with bright greens thanks to a wet spring. Lower North Falls is a quicker waterfall stop, but that was welcomed, as at this point there were 7 more to see. Right before a bridge crossing a side creek, there is a short trail for the 4th waterfall. A quick detour reaches a taller waterfall called Double Falls. All the other falls are part of Silver Creek. This one is a tributary that feeds it. Not too many options for viewing this waterfall, but a tiny trail gave a nice vantage point for a photo. For a very tall and up-close waterfall, a portrait-oriented photo made sense. It captures the tall, thin size well, and shows the fall above that makes it Double Falls. You might notice that my usual companion was not on this trip. Dogs are not allowed on the waterfall trail because of crowding at thin trails with abrupt edges. This section of the trail had a few waterfalls very close together, so it was a short walk to number 5. Drake Falls were named after a person that was instrumental in the creation of this park. June Drake was a photographer that ran a campaign to establish Silver Falls. Originally, he wanted it to be a national park, but that didn't pan out, and the state park was established in the 1930s. Visiting this park for photography is a nice way to honor Drake. Separated by the falls, a lot of these waterfalls have a sunny side, and this photo shows that well. Drake is the smallest of the 10 falls, but especially in spring it is nice to watch the powerful flow. Another short hike leads to the 6th waterfall. Middle North Falls is somewhat of a twin to Lower South Falls from earlier. This waterfall features another wet trail that goes behind the falls. These conditions made me wish I had a waterproof case for my photo camera. Instead, I used a waterproof action camera for the really wet conditions. Circling around the waterfall, I found a nice spot for a photo. The cave and trail on the right make a nice frame for the waterfall. Raincoats are nice for getting right next to a waterfall, but I was too excited about no rain and forgot one. Fortunately, I would easily dry off on the way to the 7th waterfall. At this point, a bridge shortcuts the rest of the loop, but it would miss the remaining waterfalls. Twin Falls is one of the smaller falls of the 10. One of the only viewpoints is pretty far away, so I zoomed in for a photo. The rock that separates the falls into twins is featured right between dark greens and bright yellows. Seeing so many dogs was a bit disappointing. I had avoided this trail for years because of dog restrictions, and it seems many just do it anyways. "2022 had a nice rainy spring, making all of these falls extra powerful. The shorter falls had less viewpoints and were a quicker stop than the bigger ones. After Twin Falls, there is another longer stretch of the hike before the 8th waterfall. A few nice things to look at though, including this unnamed waterfall. North Falls is impressive for both the size of the waterfall and the cave behind it. The trail circling around provided many viewpoints, and I tried them all out. North Falls features the largest and most dry cave of the 10 falls. The panoramic cave is so wide that it's hard to capture on camera, but I had a good idea. To get this photo, I took 2 pictures and stitched them together. This was my favorite shot of the day with how unique of a view it gives. After the cave, there is a lot of elevation gain to get on top of the other side of the canyon. One last view from above showed all the boulders that North Falls has launched down. To get to the 9th waterfall, the trail passes another parking area and leaves the main loop. A quick walk at what feels like the outskirts of the 10 Falls Trail ends up at Upper North Falls. This was the only stop with easy access to the bottom of the waterfall. That was a nice change, and it brought some wildlife viewing. Being at the base with water spraying everywhere, I worked quickly to capture a photo. Thanks to sun, shade, and a different water depth, all kinds of different colors showed up in the water. With the 9th waterfall down, the end was in sight. I headed to waterfall number 10. Back onto the loop is a trail with a detour to the last waterfall. One viewpoint gives another look back at North Falls. To view Winter Falls, a detour goes down a steep switchback that you have to go back up after. This waterfall didn't carve out a pool and lands on a mossy rock slope. That might be due to a lack of power. Winter Falls gets its name because it is barely a waterfall during the dry seasons. At this point, I had been photographing waterfalls all day and was ready to complete the set. The waterfall and sloped falls below look like 2 separate water features. The small caves with bright greens make for some interesting formations. Winter Falls was the last of this waterfall journey. All that was left was a steep backtrack onto the main loop and getting back to the trailhead. The last part of the trail was a bit uneventful and went through the forest back to South Falls parking area. The 7-mile 10 Falls loop felt way longer with all the photo taking, but it was a lot of fun. It was a nice adventure to visit this park and capture all 10 falls. I was happy to get such a variety of waterfall photos from a single hike. The Trail of 10 Falls at Silver Falls is worth all the popularity and praise it gets.